Good morning, everybody. I'm a little disorganized this morning. I hope it won't be too bad. Hopefully I'll find the pages quickly. So pray that I can get through that quickly. But let's see. Today's theme is finding God above our heads. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about what we see above our heads. How many of you have, when you're younger or recently, during the day gone out and just stared up at the sky and looked at the clouds? I see one. How many have looked up and seen shapes that, recognized something that looked like a bunny or possibly, a dog recently? I heard a dragon. I've seen a few different things in the sky. I recently saw one where somebody took a picture of what they looked like an angel with God rays. You know what I'm talking about when I say God rays, the sunlight coming out in rays. Things like that are something that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that in my family, my son hasn't probably done that in a long time, and I haven't really taken him outside to say, hey, let's go look at clouds, just because it's fun. I feel like that I've kind of lost that a little bit. What we do sometimes when we look up at the sky and see these different shapes, we notice the creativity that we have in our minds can make these shapes seem like something familiar, that we can see things in the clouds. This is also something that we make. I've noticed this just even looking at a wall. You see a pattern in a wall, and you can see a shape out of it. One of the other things in the daytime, the sky, is obviously we have the sun. The sun brings light to us and lights up our world, and we're able to see our way around and know where we're going. When we're younger, at times, when that sunlight is gone, when we go into the dark, I know there's a lot of fear of the dark, right? Fear that something might come out and get us. There's fear of what the unknown shows. So one of the things that we have done as a culture, or even just as we have progressed in technology over the years, is we started putting lights up. We put lights out at night to light our paths so that we can see our way through, and so that we don't trip over something. At night I have in our living room, we've got a night light off to the side so that whenever I'm coming down the stairs, I don't miss the last step, which has happened and is not fun at all. But because of this, these lights that we have all around, it has kind of blocked our vision sometimes. Whenever I was a little younger, things have gotten, as we've gone I've gotten a little older, I've noticed more and more places just having lights outside and at night. One of the things that we do at night, if you find yourself in a place where you don't have light, you don't have for instance, I carry a little flashlight with me all the time. If you don't have that and it's dark, suddenly you think, oh, how am I going to get around? But if you truly go outside, God has provided us a beautiful light display in the sky at night. On a clear night anyway. Cloudy nights are a little bit different. But on a clear night, in an area where there are no lights around, you can see an amazing light show in the sky. The thing that is different about the night sky with the stars that we see at night from the clouds. As with the clouds, people can see different patterns and shapes in the sky. And they've noticed it for millennia. They've noticed it since the time of the world has started. They've noticed when they look into the night sky that certain patterns are there, and they make shapes out of those patterns. They recognize those. Some of these patterns have, shown things like lions. People see things like a cross, or they see different people that they might see in the sky. And there are all kinds of legends about what these different things are. The big difference, though, between the clouds that we see during the day, that we get to see these shapes, are these different patterns that we see in the stars kept coming back. And they were the same patterns over and over and over again. And it allowed people to be able to look forward to seeing a certain star pattern in the sky and say, oh, I know during this time of year, when that star pattern is available or able for me to see that at night, I know it's getting close to where it's wintertime. It's getting cold outside. And I know it's coming. Excuse me, sorry. Didn't mean to cough in the microphone. Now, our scriptures originally for today, not just originally, but what was called for today, forgive me because I am a little bit unorganized again, as I said, is from Matthew, the first chapter of Matthew, 18 through 21. 18 through 21. Hold on, I think I am in the wrong spot. Sorry, second chapter of Matthew, 1 through 12. I knew that didn't sound right. 1 through 12. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judah, in the days of Herod the king, there came the Magi from the east to Jerusalem. And they were saying, where is this king of the Jews who has been born? For we have seen his star in the east, and we have come to worship him. But when Herod the king heard this, he trembled, and all Jerusalem with him. So he gathered together all of his high priests and his scribes of the people, and he kept asking them where this Christ would be born. And they said, in Bethlehem of Judah, for thus it is written in the book of the prophet, even you, Bethlehem of Judah, you are not insignificant in the eyes of the king of Judah, for from you shall come out a king who will shepherd my people Israel. Then Herod called the Magi secretly, and he learned from them at that time that the star appeared to them, and he sent them to Bethlehem and said to them, go and inquire very carefully concerning the boy. And when you have found him, come back and let me know him, so that I may go and worship him. When they had heard from the king, they went away. And behold, the same star that they had seen in the east was going before them, until it came and stood just above a place where the infant boy was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly. And they entered the house and saw the infant boy with Mary, his mother. And they threw themselves down and worshipped him. And they opened their treasures and offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And they were told in a dream not to return to Herod, so they departed to their own country by another way. This is the story that we told today. One of the things about this story is they talked about a star. Now, As I said before, the stars that we see at night are the same stars that the people of that day were seeing 2,000 years ago. They're the same stars that were available in the night sky 20,000 years ago even, with minor differences. Some things change as time goes. Most of the star patterns are consistent. However, occasionally we'll notice that something that we perceive as a star, a planet that looks like a star to us, to our naked eye, it moves slightly different from the rest of the different stars in the sky. It slightly changes where everything else kind of moves together. Whenever the planets are moving, they're one slight difference. Some of the other things that could possibly go across the sky that we don't normally see. I mean, let me ask you this first. We know that the Magi in this story were following a star. How would they know about that? How would they know to follow a specific star? I would argue to say that it must be that there was something different than normal, than what they normally would see. One of the things that I know a lot of Christians and a lot of people today would point out that, well, that sounds like astrology. You know, you're talking about astrology, reading signs in the sky, right? And we're not talking about normal modern astrology that you look up in the newspaper and say, what am I? I'm a Taurus, so today, you know, I've got to watch out for being, you know, burned, or I have to be real careful because today might be a day where I could get in trouble with some kind of authorities, so I don't want to, you know, make anybody angry today. No, that is mostly nonsense, really. But when it comes to astrology is a little different or astronomy is different from astrology. Astronomy is the study of the night sky, and according to, legends, not even just legend, according to the Bible, we have, God has put forth the ability for us to see signs of the future a little bit. Let me go to Genesis even, at the beginning in Genesis 1:14. Then God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for the seasons and for days and years. So these lights, as I said before, the stars will help you see when the seasons are going to be changing. You can recognize the difference of the different stars that come around, because when we're on one side of the sun in our rotation, I'm going into science a little bit here, then during the summertime, we see one set of stars at night. And as the earth rotates, those stars look to us like they're moving from the east to the west. Hence, one of the reasons why the Magi came from the east. They followed the star from the east to the west. Also, as we travel around the sun, those visible stars at night, we can't see them during the day because the sun is too bright for us to notice. But during the nighttime, those areas that we can see on the dark side of the sun or dark side of the earth when we're at night is looking at a different part of the sky. And we're seeing different things as we go around. And that allows us to see, oh, okay, this constellation is coming up. I see that, we're getting into fall now. It's time to start harvesting things. Or this constellation is now coming up. It's getting close to time where we can start planting, and it'll be safe to do that. So it helps us to see when the seasons are changing. Today's modern average person uses a calendar and uses their phone or whatever to say, oh, okay, I know now it's time to do this. But in the past, the stars would help them decide when that would be. Excuse me. And it says here that it will be for us to be able to see signs. And we know that the wise men said they saw his star and followed it. And how is it that we have that star? Could it have been, there are three different things that people sometimes suggest. Could it have been a comet? A comet flying across the sky, stay there for months in some cases. It would be an obvious trail that you can see, okay, it's pointing that direction, let's follow that direction. However, I listened recently to a YouTube video by Joe Amaral, I believe is his name. Joe Amaral. It's called this Story in the Stars. Now, he's got a book out about this, but from what it sounds like, I don't know his full background yet, so I can't be confident on this, but it sounds like he has studied astronomy quite a bit, and he is Christian, so he looks at it from that perspective. That during that time, if you go back and look at how the stars move, and according to our history, there's been no records of any comets around that time, because they knew about comets. They didn't know what they were. They just would record them and say, hey, there was a long streaking star in the sky for 2 months during this time of year. They've recorded those for thousands of years, even before Christ. And there wasn't any comets that were recorded according to his research. However, there was one thing that came about, was something called an what is it called? A conjunction. The planet of Jupiter was in conjunction with Regulus, the star. Now, Regulus, if you don't know, is a star in the constellation that has been known at that time and is known now as Leo. Leo is a lion. Also in that book, Leo is considered to be the king, the king of the jungle. The lion is always the king. And this was known in certain astrological circles, knowing the different parts of the sky. And Leo, being the king of the constellations, the planet Jupiter is called the king planet. And Regulus, the star, is known as the little king. According to this individual, at that time, around 3 BC, Jupiter aligned with Regulus just above, he believed it was just above Bethlehem about that time. And so you've got the king star, or the little king star, the king planet in the king constellation, the lion constellation, all aligning at the time that we think is about the time of Jesus' birth, approximation. So and what would happen when those alignments occur is that star would go from an average star to very bright, because suddenly you've got two celestial bodies in one spot and shining very brightly. So he believed that this is a possibility, that may be the possible star of Bethlehem, that when that arrived, when that came about, they were able to notice this difference in the sky. And knowing the names and the concept behind that, the king, triple king basically, king of kings, led them to believe that. So they followed it. They followed it to Bethlehem. Those who are able to, I never thought about this because I never really looked at the night sky and thought, okay, this is going to tell me something all that much. And I always thought that the whole astrology thing was pretty silly. But astronomy is not so much necessarily, something that controls us, and we shouldn't worship the stars. But sometimes all of these constellations that are shown, that are regular in our lives, people would make stories up about the different things so they can remember, okay, when you see the lion in the sky, this is going to happen. This is this time of year. And when you see the Virgin, many people tie Virgo, which is right next to Leo, to being the Virgin Mary. And these constellations were named these different things before Jesus was born. My thought is, if God placed all these things ahead of time, then who are we to say that he wouldn't also recognize that if we see things in it and he can show signs within the stars, then who are we to question that? It's hard to see the stars right now because of all the lights that we have that are light pollution. But there are times whenever you can get the chance to go out to an area that doesn't have as much light. Whenever I was in my 20s, I had the opportunity to go out to Camp Bountiful a couple of, it was probably a night or 2 nights before junior high or senior high was getting ready to start. And I was planning to be a counselor along with some of my friends. Some of you may know Wayne Allen. I think Ryan McCall may have been there at the time, and a few others that we went out, stayed the night ahead of time before everything got started, and instead of sleeping in the cabins, we said, well, why don't we just go ahead and go out onto the softball field and just put our sleeping bags out there and sleep, and it's a clear night, we can look at the stars. And it was quite beautiful. It was wonderful. Although it was just cold enough that when we woke up in the morning, we had dew all over us and my pillow was covered in dew. But that's just one instance where I had the opportunity to go out and see the night sky without a whole lot of extra lights around. There's now a few lights outside there. You got the pool and everything that's got lights outside. You're not going to see as much right now. But if you get the opportunity, I encourage you guys to take your kids outside at night in the dark. What do we do instead? We stay inside, watch TV. We have all the lights on. We have everything that we could do to keep ourselves, insulated and safe from the scary dark places outside. But if we take the opportunity to go outside into the night, whenever we can turn out all the lights and accept that we might not be able to see what's in front of us right away, our eyes will adjust and we can see the night sky. And it is so amazing and so beautiful. Just the majesty of the night sky itself will give you awe inspiration. And the story that we have of the Magi, these men seen that kind of thing every night. There wasn't that kind of light pollution, so they knew the night sky quite well. And when this planet of Jupiter was moving in the direction of Regulus, they probably saw it coming. They saw the conjunction on it before it actually got there. They could see it coming. But then, and if they had any kind of understanding of the stars and their names and their meanings, which I think they must have, then they would know this king planet and this king star, the little king, and in the king cluster or the king star was coming, so they would know to try to align with it and go find that child. And it makes total sense that when they would get to the first large city that they thought it could have been, they would go to the royal palace to speak to the king to say, hey, where's this new king? I assume it's your child, right? You must have had a son because you're the king and we're looking for the new baby king. And Herod wasn't happy with that. He did not like that concept at all. Well, I didn't have a child. I forgot to mention this also occurred according to Joe Amaral. I encourage you guys to watch some of his videos about this because it's really interesting. There's a lot of other things in the sky that point to Christian values and Christian themes that he would share with you. But during that time, he said that would have aligned with a certain festival, a festival of trumpets that was going on during that time as well. And that festival of trumpets was traditionally known for the time when they would introduce the new king, which is quite amazing if it's true. I don't know how accurate his records are, but it sounded pretty amazing. So the gifts that the Magi decided to give Jesus, I'm going to go ahead and ask that. Mostly the theme today was mostly about looking up to see God in the skies or above our heads, as it said. However, part of the scripture includes the gifts of the Magi. The three gifts. The gift of gold obviously is a precious metal that has been something that has been valuable for ever since we can remember. It's one of those things that people they have valued it for its worth, its rarity forever, as far as I can tell. But the frankincense and myrrh, how are those useful? I mean, frankincense is known to be a incense. It was used and burned in the temples before sacrifices and just as a priesthood kind of thing. So it was kind of symbolizing the priesthood or the religious significance of this individual. So they gave that to him. It is also a very valuable thing as well. And the myrrh, what was myrrh used for? Myrrh was sometimes mixed with oils and used to anoint different things, largely in the burial process to anoint the bodies to reduce the smell. But I read somewhere that it also was to anoint a new king as well. So these gifts were not only gifts that were of value, because all three had a lot of value, and some say that each of them had the same kind of value as gold. But they also had, a spiritual significance in their concept, the ideas of why it was there, the symbolism of it. In addition to the value of the gold and all of that, Mary and Joseph used that money to be able, or the value of that to trade and be able to get themselves out of Bethlehem when they were told that, hey, Herod is after you guys now. You need to pack up and move. And they went to Egypt for a while. And they used those gifts to be able to afford their journey. So, in closing, really, I wanted to just share with you guys, take that opportunity to, instead of constantly looking down and being in our brightly lit areas, take that opportunity to go outside and look up in the skies, whether it's during the day so you can share with your kids that opportunity, or your friends that chance to look at the different clouds and see what amazing shapes and ideas are out there that you can have that creative output or outlet. And also at night, if you ever get the chance to find some place with low light pollution on a clear night and just be amazed. It is the most amazing thing. And if you get the chance to kind of look up some of these, the different meanings of the different stars, you might be able to, if you really study it close, there might be something new coming around the bend. You never know. And if you can be aware of it, please share it with us. It'd be cool. But thank you, and you all have a blessed day.